Watagwan me you. I cracked myself up. But hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel, giving you an update on my Christ journey. I would say over the last week, it's been really uncomfortable. I've been telling you guys that my spirit has been in this weird phase, and I feel like it gets emphasized in the summer. Growing up, I always recalled during the summer me having constant nightmares, and it was usually of like the bullies who like made me so like sad and uncomfortable at school growing up and even through college. But I don't have any of those types of issues anymore, so I really do think that it's because of some of the discomfort in my life. But also travel, especially when it's travel that isn't for me and my indulgence, makes me very uncomfortable. I get sleepless, restless, strange sleeping patterns. Like, for example, I believe it was Friday night or either Saturday night. I think it was Friday night. I hung out with my mom all day. I hung out with her all weekend with family. And then we sat down, went back home, sat down and watched Who Cloned Tyrone. If you haven't seen it, it's so good. Jamie Foxx is phenomenal in it. I'm so glad he's better because we can't lose such a talent like him. But anyways, we started watching it. I had already watched most of it, so I was rewatching it with her. I fell asleep on the couch around 9:30, woke up around midnight, and I couldn't go back to sleep until 4 a.m. And then the following night, yeah, that was Friday night. The following night, Saturday night, went to bed at a good time, I want to say around 11 after we had been out all day. And again, I randomly woke up at 3 a.m. Now, I've heard a lot that waking up in the middle of the night is God telling you something or trying to tell you something. And trust me when I say I asked God, what are you trying to tell me? Just laying in the bed like this. God, what are you trying to tell me? But the answers did not come. So because of my sleeplessness and restlessness, I made sure that before I drove home, because I had driven to DC actually, and then drove to Maryland and then drove back home. So I made sure that I went by the water to just breathe. And what was really interesting is that I love the ocean. It's my favorite place to be. I love the sound of the waves. I love swimming. I love sand in between my toes. I love it all. I love the sun. Oh, I love the heat. I love everything about the ocean, and being by the ocean. When I went to the ocean to meditate and just, find some centeredness, because I don't get to be 5 minutes from the ocean like that often, I closed my eyes and just started tearing up a lot. And then I started stretching and stuff, but that just confirms to me that there is a message God is telling me, and there's also a strong discomfort in my life that really is shaking me to where I can't even explain when I react in certain ways like that. So that was a whole thing. Another thing, concerning my health. I have I'm just gonna be very vulnerable with this. I don't want to admit it. I'm not ready to share the details yet. I think there is something going on with my brain, and I've made a doctor's appointment to look more into it. I don't believe it's cancer or anything of that sort, but I do believe that there is a reason that I feel a lot of emotional shifts, and I'm actually terrified to go to this appointment, because I think we all never picture being ill or having something wrong with us, or even the possibility of us relying on medication for the rest of our lives. But it's come to a point where I'm a very intuitive person. I'm a very observant person, especially when it comes to myself. And I've noticed some symptoms that signify there may be something wrong or off. I don't want to say wrong, but something off with me in my brain. So that's something on my plate. Now, getting into the Bible. So unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Bible study last week because that was the day that I was driving down to DC. But my tried and true Elevation Church, always faithful to them. So one of the most recent sermons that Pastor Stephen Furtick spoke about, you can find it on YouTube. You can also find it on Spotify. It is called Challenge the Shadow. And the premise of Challenge the Shadow was about King Hezekiel, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, and how a prophet came to him to let him know that he would be dying soon and that he needed to prepare his home, prepare his kingdom to get ready to pass away. And he contested it, and God came to him and gave him 15 more years. That's the brief summary. 15 more years of life. What really, and this is what really moves me about Elevation Church, because Pastor Stephen Furtick can be talking about any Bible verse, any chapter in the Bible, and I can somehow connect it back to my life. And that is something growing up I could not do. Being in a Southern Baptist household, Southern Baptist church, you do not get the layman's display or explanation of how the Bible connects to your current day life. It's always this very high level, overly technical terms, and you're just sort of like, huh, and then add in some screaming and some stomping and the pastor wiping his head, and it's just like, okay, I'm motivated. I got my adrenaline running. Hey, you know. But what does that mean? How do I apply this to this next week? Or how do I apply this to the challenges that I'm going, whether it be financially, school-wise, work-wise, familial, friend-wise, something's going on with my kids, something's going on with my dog, my car broke down. How can I apply that, all of that to that? You know, so Challenge the Shadow basically talks about your shadow. And your shadow would be the things about you that you don't like to really acknowledge. You're not the proudest of, almost like the opposite of your representative. So he talks about how we have to confront our shadow and address it, but also appreciate it in that same breath, because without the situations that make us feel our shadow or have our shadow, without any of the challenges that we experience in life, we cannot nearly be as appreciative at comparing to if we had never had an issue in our life whatsoever and everything was easy peasy, lemon squeezy, no issues. And I think that's such a good point, because no one wants to go through challenges, no one wants to suffer, no one wants to struggle. But without any of those challenges, we would not be molded into the person, the humble person who has humility, the person who is grounded, the person who has gratitude for the things that they do have. And I think that does come with surviving those obstacles, overcoming those obstacles. Without challenge, what's the phrase he says? He says, without challenge, there's no change. No challenge, no change. So even with me and these challenges that I'm going through, whether it be challenges I fully am aware of or challenges that I'm still trying to find the answers to, I understand that at the end of the day, at the end of this life's road, all of these challenges that I'm going through in my life currently, that I have gone through in my past, will all lead me to be who God wants me to be. And, you know, the best version that I can be. And I feel like with a lot of the experiences that have been, you know, more difficult to deal with in my life, especially in my teenage years, it's made me so much more understanding, empathetic, than compared to a person who, let's say, has, you know, had a silver spoon in their mouth their entire lives, never had to share, never had to ask for anything, was always handed money, was always handed this, that, anything they wanted, they were given to. We all can probably think of a person, you know, from that background, and we all can probably describe them as not the nicest, not the kindest, not the most empathetic, not understanding. Honestly, they can be dicks sometimes. So while it's really hard for me to go through this season of confusion, I can also appreciate the fact that I know there is greener grass. In this case, there will be greener grass on the other side. There is something that God is molding me for. He is, hammering me. He's molding me. He's taking me like a fresh slate of metal, and he's refining me so that I can become this beautiful statue, at the end of the day. So I try to do my best to keep that in mind, especially on days where I just really feel like crap. So that's another thing. If you haven't watched or listened to Challenge the Shadow, I really recommend it. I actually listened to it 3 different times already since Sunday. And today is Monday. Today's Tuesday, sorry. Today's Tuesday. So yeah, that's that. What else do I want to share? Yeah, I think that's all I have to share with you guys for now. Just a lot of physical, mental discomfort in my life. This wasn't really an eventful episode, but I hope it resonates with someone. And I hope that, if anything, the takeaway that you have is to watch Challenge the Shadow. And if you do watch it, please do. I really think you'll love it. If you do, comment down below and let me know your thoughts. I would love to know your feedback and what you pulled away from that sermon, because I felt like it was really eye-opening and reconfirming to me. Sort of like, Tanaye, you're going through a hard time, but, it's going to be okay. And I really needed that, because sometimes we're just like on this path where the days go by so fast and you feel like there's not enough time in the day, and then you can't sleep, and then you wake up exhausted, and then you do it all again where you still feel like there's not enough time in the day, but you're still even more exhausted, and it's like this pattern, and you get stuck, and you just feel like, what am I doing with my life? What is my purpose? And it's like this whole tornado of just like confusion and discomfort and stress and anxiety. So that's where I am at. And I hope none of you have to feel that way. I would honestly not wish this on my worst enemy. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the sermon, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Please excuse my appearance. I am reapplying my wig. I just remembered a big detail that I wanted to make sure I covered this week. So I did speak to each of my parents regarding the art gallery in that whole situation. I texted my dad about it, and he apologized, and shared all of his love and support. And then when I saw my mom in person this weekend, I said it to her face to face, like what was going on. Like, my parents are going through things each on their own right now, and I fully acknowledge that. And so, like I said before, I'm not holding it against them. She was also very sympathetic and empathetic, and hugged me for a long time. So communication is key in every aspect of our lives and in all of our relationships. And I'm really glad that I was able, for one, to have the courage to address how I feel with my parents, because not all children have that relationship with their parents. So I am blessed that I'm able to express myself with them, and they are able to hear me, listen, and react still so supportively. Is that a word? So all is well.